And now, good mic work commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy holidays, everyone, and happy Saturday. Welcome to your Winged Eagle Podcast for December 23rd, 2023. Just a couple of days ahead here of the Christmas holiday, and this will be probably our last, big long-form podcast of the year, because next weekend we'll be here doing the World's End coverage. So this is going to kind of be it for the Winged Eagles until the beginning of the year. And it's probably going to be a pretty slow wrestling news and results week next week anyway, due to Raw and SmackDown, I think, being clip shows. And AEW is going to be taking center stage there with their pay-per-view and their TV next week. So we will be covering AEW World's End on Friday and Saturday next week, so no Winged Eagle. So we'll try to wrap up as much wrestling news week as we can today. And there's a lot of it. This is going to be a really news-heavy podcast because we had big news coming in last night during SmackDown as it relates to New Japan. A lot of news this week about WWE re-signing a lot of their top stars, and one big one that may or may not be re-signed yet, but will likely become signed. All of the free agents that were released 90 days ago have hit the market, including Mustafa Ali, who is launching his world tour. That's looking like a lot of fun. We're going to talk about random stuff like the Butch and Dragunov angle on NXT. We're going to talk about that MSG house show the day after Christmas that has about 15,000 tickets sold for that. CM Punk will be making his return to the ring in that. We'll talk about MJF's induction into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. We'll talk about MJF on Dynamite this week, and the Devil angle, and the Continental Classic, and everything leading up to World's End and how the card is looking so far, even though I think I only see 3 confirmed matches for World's End. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Roman Reigns' title run and what's going to happen to him at WrestleMania 40. We're going to talk about this year's Hall of Fame, because this will be the first Hall of Fame under the creative guidance of Triple H. So we'll talk about maybe who we could see get inducted into this year's class. I have 2 names at the top of my list for Philly that I think would be perfect, Bray Wyatt and Paul Heyman, but we'll see what other names could possibly go in this year in the Hall of Fame. We'll talk a little bit about this past week's Raw. We were here for a Raw review, but a couple of news items came out of Raw this week that we'll talk about. We'll briefly recap last night's SmackDown. SmackDown, of course, last night was a taped show. It was a decent show, still some good matches on there. Owens and Hayes and Dragon Lee and Butch were incredible. But the spoilers have been out for a week. There's not a whole lot to get into there, but we will touch on it. And we'll talk a little bit about this past week's Dynamite as well. We've got the Continental Classic winding down, which has been a terrific tournament for AEW. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a breath of fresh air. It's been, something good that we can associate with AEW lately, since, there's been some problems in that company for the past year or so, and WWE is so white hot right now. This Continental Classic has been a winner for them. And I hope that they continue this every year, because I think it's going to be a success. This year has been a lot of fun. We'll talk a lot about MJF and the tease of a Swerve Strickland program in 2024. I've been advocating for Swerve to be world champion in 2024. What they did in Dynamite might be planting the seeds for that actually to happen. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We'll preview tonight's Collision, more Continental Classic matches for the Blue League. That's going to be winding down as well tonight. And then the finals are set for World's End. And anything else you guys want to get into in the chat, mention it. We'll talk about it. Ask a question, send a super chat. They're open, all that jazz. We'll hang out today for a couple of hours and just talk some wrestling. Now, unfortunately, this is a holiday weekend. Normally, we would be up here tomorrow night for a classic pay-per-view watch along, but since it's Christmas Eve, we have plans. A lot of people have plans, so no watch along tomorrow. Also, no Raw review on Monday, Christmas Day. They're running a highlight show anyway, so I'm not even going to watch that. So the next scheduled video that I have for you guys will be this coming Thursday evening. We're going to be watching a classic Raw episode from 2003, December 29th. 2003 is the episode we're going to watch, and we're going to watch that the day before its 30th anniversary on Thursday the 28th. This Friday the 29th, we're going to be up here for World's End predictions. And then 1 week from today, the 30th, we're going to be up here for World's End live reaction and review. So we're going to watch the whole pay-per-view together 1 week from today, next Saturday. But you probably won't see me, aside from some mic drops, which will be hitting the channel, and some reaction content on the second channel, and some Patreon and member content as well. Some of that you'll see this week, but the next time you'll see me in a live setting here on this channel will be this coming Thursday for that classic Raw review. So just keep that in mind. The links to the Classic Raw, the World's End stuff is already up on my channel. You can check that out. Thank you to everyone who joined us this past Thursday for a fun midweek watch along, kind of middle of the day. Not a lot of people knew about this. Wasn't exactly our Sunday night audience, but it was still a lot of fun. We watched In Your House number 5 from December 1995. That was the big Bret and Bulldog match, and I will be uploading the Bret and Bulldog reaction on Christmas Day as some bonus content, but the watch along is up if you want to check it out from the other day. And like I said, we will be watching that Classic Raw this Thursday. So that's kind of what is on tap for this week. And happy holidays to you all. Thank you so much for yet another great year. One more in the books. Year number 14 is down here on the channel. We're going to be moving into, I guess, where my year number 13 is down. We're moving into our 14th year here on the channel, which is just insane to me to think about. And I can't thank you guys enough for all of your great support year in and year out. We're going through another holiday, another Christmas, and another New Year together. And that's pretty badass. So I wish you all a very safe and happy and healthy holiday, whatever you're doing tomorrow, Monday, whatever you celebrate for the new year, all that stuff. I hope it's fantastic. Spend time with family, enjoy time off from work, and just relax. That's what I wish for all of you. And of course, I hope you score some pretty nice loot as well. So happy holidays to everyone out there. Let me cruise to the chat, do some shout outs real quick, say hello to you guys, knock out any super chats that might be here. Then we will start with our wrestling news. And like I said, it's a pretty news heavy podcast today. We're going to talk about that big New Japan news that dropped last night. I think it was right before SmackDown or during SmackDown regarding Tanahashi and New Japan. So we'll get into that in 1 minute. Let me say hello to my boy, Amato, who was here. Hey, Greg, no work today. I am running around to get last-minute stuff for my solo Christmas. Hope you and your family have a great Christmas. Oh, man, running around town today, I made the mistake of going out for a brief moment. It's just like, it's almost as if online shopping doesn't exist. I mean, just as many people are out in the stores and crowding the traffic and flooding the roads today as there would have been in 1994. I thought maybe a lot of people did their online shopping, but people are scrambling, getting their last minute shit done. I tried to go get a sandwich about 2 hours ago, and I had to park literally a half a mile away from where I needed to be, walk all the way over there, get my sandwich, walk home, try to eat that thing before I went live. Pain in the ass. I feel your pain, Amato, and happy holidays to you, my friend. And take care of yourself this Christmas. Tatanani's here as well, along with Dre. Let's hit these channel members first because y'all are my best friends. Everybody else is just my friend. You guys are my best friends. You guys are family. Like Ian Dunn, you're my family. What's up, Joshua Aparicio? Been family member for a long time now. Hey, Greg, just wanted to say happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, Joshua. Thank you so much. Isaac, good to see you as well. We got the Juliet in the house. Always a pleasure to see you. And that should round out some of the channel members. I also want to welcome Colin Wright, who's chiming in with a nice super chat. Thank you for that, my friend. Have you seen the South Park spoof of Logan Paul as Logan LaDouche? No, but I was aware of it. I did see something about it. I'll check that out tonight. And I think Logan Paul even had a response to it. I haven't seen either, so I'll check that out tonight for sure. But I did hear a few things. James Kowalski, happy Festivus to you as well. I think today is Festivus, by the way. So maybe we should air some grievances. I've got a lot of problems with you people in this chat right here. Should we do that and then move into feats of strength, or would you like me to take my shirt off and start doing feats of strength now? Vote in the chat below, and I'll do whatever you guys say. Big J, good to see you. Happy holidays to you, man. Glad you're here. We have Rodrigo in the house as well. JL, Ben Espinoza, Denny Down Bad, Always Radio is here. We have Mr. Jason. We got Steve Jacobson. We have Nick Musser in the house as well. Channel members here, and J&M Bespoke Travel. Merry Christmas to you and your family from Scotland. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, everyone. Happy Saturday to you, and happy holidays to you. Why don't we start with our wrestling news, just so we ensure we have enough time to get through everything. Last week, I just rambled. It was kind of a little bit light on the news, so we did a lot of rambling, and then we came to the end of it, and I'm like, oh my God, Collision is about to start, and I need to get the hell out of here. And Collision is on tonight with some pretty sweet Blue League matches set up, so I don't want to tread too far into Collision tonight. I want to try to get done before that show starts. But let's talk about the big news that dropped last night. I think it was right before SmackDown or during SmackDown. I'm not sure exactly when this news was announced, but last night, New Japan issued a statement and a press release that Hiroshi Tanahashi, longtime in-ring competitor for the promotion, kind of face of the promotion, the ace of the promotion, has been named their new president. There was a big statement that detailed the change behind the scenes. I'm not sure what that means for the current president, if he's ousted or moved or whatever. But Tanahashi being named the new president, I wish I could tell you guys what exactly this means, but not being as dialed into, the New Japan drama maybe as everybody else, people can probably offer a lot more about this than me. But one thing I will say about this is this might be a good way to kind of stabilize things in that promotion. Tanahashi being named the president, I think, can only be good for the company in terms of talent recruitment, kind of keeping fans interested. This guy really was, I always thought, kind of New Japan's John Cena for a long time there. He is a legend. I've always loved the work I've seen of Tanahashi. I know he's beloved in New Japan and by the audience. This probably is a pretty good move behind the scenes, but in terms of the internal workings of what goes on with that company and their executives and whatnot, I'm not really that informed on what's going on back there and the good and the bad and the ugly and all of that. But Tanahashi being named president, I think it's kind of cool. Now, I don't know where all those fans are that says, wrestlers shouldn't be executives and blah, blah, blah. I think that only applies to AEW because they hate them. It's not really something they truly believe. But here, Tanahashi is now taking a big position in the company. And like we saw last night, too, on social media, Shinsuke Nakamura was tweeted out, wow, this was a big jaw-dropping announcement to a big portion of the wrestling world, specifically the talent. And I think that this might have been something that New Japan felt like needed to be done. They needed to have a recognizable face or name back there because they know with the competition and the way wrestling is today, New Japan is not as strong as it was maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago. A lot of people have left, even talk of Okada possibly leaving the company now. And maybe the Tanahashi news is a part of a way to get him to stay there. I don't know. But it sounds like this might be more for appearance purposes more than anything else, because Tanahashi is, winding down his in-ring career here anyway. So this would be a perfect role for him, you would assume, much like we've seen Bryan Danielson, take on more responsibility in AEW. We saw the way Triple H rose to power in WWE. And there's been countless instances of talent moving into executive roles or behind the scenes authority roles in the past. This is not new. So this, I'm hoping, is something that is going to mean nothing but good things for New Japan. That's what I want. So I think we should all just get ready for Tanahashiism. I think it's coming, y'all, and I'm fine with that. I congratulate him on this promotion, I guess, this new big job, and hopefully we'll hear once the transition is fully made, Tanahashi begins his role, we get a year into this. Hopefully it turns out that this was a really, really good decision. That's what I'm hoping for. So all the best to Hiroshi Tanahashi. Congratulations to him. Legend in the business, now going to be the president of the company that he worked so long for. And I think that can probably only mean positive things for their, their recruitment and their attractiveness to maybe outside talent, having somebody like Tanahashi there who already likely has a lot of history with a lot of the people they're probably trying to re-sign or lure over there. So I suppose this is good news, but I don't know. Maybe you'll start hearing everybody talk about what a fucking disaster this is going to be. I just don't see it. I think this is kind of cool, and I wish the promotion and Tanahashi all the best. Very, very big news that was getting a lot of online buzz yesterday. So hopefully this all goes as well as possible. And congrats to Tanahashi. That's all I can really say about it right now. Don't know any other details other than what New Japan has given us. There's been no the websites or FightFul or anybody else. I haven't seen any reports yet of what led to this decision and what the details are of it. I don't think anything like that has really made it out yet. All we know is what the decision is, and that it is official. Tanahashi named New Japan president. New Japan president. So good for him. I wish them all the best. Speaking of Japan, I think NXT, WWE is going to start working a little bit with All Japan. There was a video on All Japan social media today or yesterday, I think it was this morning, of WWE giving them a call. They have been teasing a mystery challenger from WWE who will challenge for the Triple Crown title at New Year Giant Series 2024 on January 3rd. So there is no news of who this challenger is going to be. but they received a phone call from WWE. They're going to be sending somebody over there to work January 3rd. That's kind of cool. I don't know who it would be. You guys might know better than me because I don't really follow All Japan at the moment. I used to back in the day, don't really do that now. So I don't even know who the top candidate for this could be. So if you guys have any insight on that you want to share in the chat, please let me know. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that WWE crossing over a little bit here with All Japan. We will see what that leads to. WWE has been busy. They've been busy for the past couple of weeks and the past couple of months, for that matter, ever since the TKO merger was finalized, that once that was done, it's time for them to start re-upping a lot of their top stars, and they have signed a lot of top stars recently. Now, on Monday, we talked about this on the Raw review. WWE has re-signed and came to agreements with the Mysterio family. Rey and Dominic Mysterio both re-upped with the company. Dominic's deal was believed to be 5 years, while Rey's deal was believed to be 3. They also re-signed Charlotte, apparently to a record deal recently. Charlotte's extension, I don't know if this was signed before or after her knee injury, but her extension is believed to be the highest contract to a female talent in WWE history. So that's pretty amazing and honestly deserved. I mean, Charlotte is their centerpiece, really, of their women's division. You know they want to keep her around forever. They want her to be WWE through and through and probably finish her career there. So, paying her whatever they need to is probably the right call there. So congrats to Charlotte. Bayley apparently has also re-signed a multi-year deal with the company. No details on the terms or the money, but it is believed that it's a multi-year deal and she has re-signed. Also, Cody Rhodes is a big one. Cody Rhodes is another big one. It was reported this week, yesterday to be exact, that WWE was making Cody a top priority in terms of re-signing him with the company. Then there was a story today that came out that said Cody had already signed his new contract back in October, but then that's kind of been contradicted a little bit too, so nobody really knows. But Cody Rhodes' contract was probably for 3 years. We weren't sure if it was 3 or 5. Looks like it was 3 because he came back in. When did he come in? Would it be 3 years this year? Would it be 2? How long the hell has Cody been back? He's been back for 2 years. So shit, maybe it was only a 2-year deal. Maybe it was a 3-year deal. It's probably up next year or within the next year-ish, I suppose, is what the deal is. And if it was only a 3-year deal, that means that he needs to be re-upped because there is absolutely no way that Cody Rhodes is going to go into the main event of WrestleMania 40 and pin Roman Reigns clean in the middle if he doesn't have an extension signed. So Roman's title run that everybody's so concerned about, big debate about Roman's title run this week too. He's going to lose that title to Cody Rhodes unless, for some reason, Cody cockblocks his own story and decides not to re-sign with them or holds off on re-signing with them, and then they have no choice but to go in a different direction. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Here's what FightFul Select said about this yesterday and today. Yesterday, regarding Cody's contract, they had to say this, and I quote, quote, sources have confirmed to FightFul that WWE has been engaged in talks with Cody Rhodes about a multi-year contract extension. Based on what we're told, WWE is trying to lock him down long-term. As of late, WWE has extended the contracts of Bayley, Charlotte, Rey, and Dominic. Rhodes would be a monumental re-signing for the company. We haven't heard about terms, but everyone we've spoken to in the industry expects Cody to get a sizable raise whenever the deal does occur. We're told that the contract extension is specifically a priority of TKO, and those that we spoke to were confident a deal would get done eventually. Cody also ended up getting a new bus around Thanksgiving, which led some in the company thinking he already got the new deal. However, we're told it has not been finalized. They had an update and a follow-up on this today, which says this, and I quote, FightFul reported Friday that WWE was looking to imminently re-sign Cody. This weekend, Wrestling Observer reported that a deal was signed in October, but sources close to Cody himself claim that there's some confusion on that front. Their claim is that the approach and initial offer from WWE was made in October, but no deal was signed at that point. One is expected to be signed, and an agreement is in place, we're told. There were several wrestlers that were also under the impression Rhodes had re-signed or was going to imminently. So I feel like this is a non-story. I mean, anybody in the chat Do you think Cody's bouncing and going back to AEW? I mean, at this point, maybe one day in the future, sure. But there is absolutely no way Cody would leave WWE at this point. Why? He's been treated, even with losing last year or this year's WrestleMania to Roman Reigns, he has still been treated unbelievably well by WWE. I feel like WWE looks at him as their John Cena, their new John Cena, their big, top, white, meaty baby face to send out into the world and be the face of that company. He is their guy. Cody is a very special talent. They know that. They signed him, brought him in. We didn't know how Cody was going to do when he signed with WWE. A lot of fans were panicking. Oh my God, this is the dumbest decision he's ever made. WWE's going to fuck him up. And from his entrance at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins, after he was on camera for 15 seconds, you knew that he was going to be a big deal. It was that fast. It was that special. He came in right like a big deal. He was brought in the perfect way. Excellent introductory little program with Seth and the gnarly pec injury and the Hell in the Cell, and then coming back in the Rumble and the Roman match and been able to maintain that popularity and be able to be that leader in the company when you already have a roster full of super over baby faces. And Cody has been able to maintain that crowd reaction, the enthusiasm, the merch sales, and all of that level of star power, has maintained and probably gotten, even higher. And I think WWE now needs to pay him even more than they did originally. And I would lock him up for 5 years. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would never let Dusty's son leave my company. Ever, if I was WWE, ever. So Cody Rhodes, I personally, Greg, fully expects him to re-sign. If he hasn't re-signed, he will. And Cody, he might be in a good position here. Like, hey, I'll sign that extension as long as you promise me I'm not going to be laying in the middle of the ring with a rubber duck next to my head, pissed off again at WrestleMania 40. You can ensure and promise to me that I'm going to be pinning that tribal asshole in the middle. Then you've got your extension, WWE. So I feel like Cody's going to resign. There's no way he can do his story and do that heading into WrestleMania without that extension signed. You can't do it. If he goes into that match with Roman and he hasn't put pen to paper, he's losing. So he'll re-sign, and he will be locked up with WWE for many years to come, I believe. If we get it's been a wild couple of years of headlines. But I think if we read the headline in 3 days, Cody is leaving WWE for AEW, that would be the wildest of them all. So I just don't see it happening. I think Cody's there and there for good, and he will finish that story at WrestleMania. So everybody else, the WWE is currently re-signing. They're locking up all the people that they consider to be important. I still don't think we've heard anything about Drew McIntyre in his contract, and if that is actually going to get done or not. I hope Drew sticks around. I'm loving the work he's been doing lately with his character. Although with him having a match with Seth Rollins on day one, a lot of people have been asking who Rollins defends his title against in the Royal Rumble. I think it's Drew McIntyre. I don't think there's any time for Seth Rollins, who's in the middle of a feud right now with McIntyre, to have his match with him and then build a completely different match against a different opponent for the Royal Rumble, especially when he's still got CM Punk to deal with. I just feel like the McIntyre feud isn't going to be one match and done. It's probably going to be 2 matches. And they may do something on day one, by the way, which is going to be right here in San Diego. They might do something on day one that makes them have to schedule a rematch for the Rumble, maybe with a stip. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, or hypothetically, McIntyre has not re-signed, and he has made it his intent that he wants to leave and go to AEW. Then you book a loser leaves WWE. You book a career versus title match at the Royal Rumble. Rollins stomps McIntyre, beats him, and you have the na-na-na song as he leaves. Maybe you do that. I don't know. But I hope and I feel like Drew will probably also stick around with the company. So the fact that we're hearing about all these other extensions, Dominic, Ray, Charlotte, Bayley, but no Drew, makes me wonder what his status is and is going to be. We don't know. Now, Sasha Banks is another name we've talked about a lot lately, and a lot of people feel that there's a really good chance she could be heading back to WWE instead of continuing her, little independent tour or maybe going to work for AEW. I've kind of felt like I feel like the wrestling fans are kind of divided on this a little bit. Like some of them don't want her to go back to WWE yet. They want her to have a little bit more fun out there before she heads back. I would feel that way if WWE wasn't so white hot right now. But with everything going on there, and it really does give you that feeling of it's the place to be. I felt the same way about AEW just a couple of years ago when Danielson and Adam Cole are coming in on the same night and shit. It just felt like that was the place to be. That's where all the excitement was. Now it's kind of flip-flopped a bit. And now WWE is really feeling like they're hitting on all cylinders. And as a fan, I just personally feel based on what I've seen from the Mercedes Moné version of her so far, she had the couple of matches in New Japan. She got injured. She worked with Willow. She had a couple of cool matches and some cool visuals out there, but she didn't do enough in my mind that's made me really want to see her continue that. I think she's a great women's wrestler. I like Mercedes a lot, but with everything going on in WWE right now, it would just be awesome to see her back there. Plus, she'd be coming in Royal Rumble time, WrestleMania time. She could walk back in there, and between Rumble and Mania, get more exposure in those 3 months than she ever would have gotten, doing her little world tour thing. And plus, like I've said before, it's not the same company that she walked out of a couple of years ago. Completely different scenario, completely different set of circumstances. However, apparently she's got an asking price. And that asking price, according to the rumors anyway, juicy speculation, keep that in mind. According to the rumors, her asking price is higher than the deal that Charlotte just signed. So is that really going to be a deal breaker for Sasha? Is she going to say, if I come in, I demand to be the highest paid woman on your roster? Does she have that amount of leverage? I kind of feel like no. I feel like you should pay Sasha Banks a mega contract. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely, she deserves a mega contract. But if she's got some asking price that is going to be higher than your top star, somebody who did not walk out on your company, WWE might say, okay, we'd still love to have you, but we're not going to pay you that. So have fun, go sign and work wherever you want to work. We would love to do business with you in the future, but we cannot sign you to that deal today. Sorry. That's the way I would put it to her, because I feel like Sasha could still not sign with WWE this year and make more indie appearances and maybe even do an AEW stint, who knows, and then come back to WWE in a year from now. But I just feel like if you're in a position, if you're a free agent, if you're lucky enough to be a free agent and both companies want you, I'm going to go to the hotter company. I'm sorry. If AEW's hotter, I'm going to them. WWE's hotter, I'm going to them. And I feel like Sasha Banks re-signing with WWE, whatever deal she took would be huge money, and then on top of that, all the exposure, and she'd be back to Sasha Banks and all the merch and all that stuff. I don't know how much of her own money she spent on rebranding as Mercedes Moné, but coming back now as Sasha Banks, I guess it just depends. I've talked about this before. Everybody's circumstances are different. Everybody's personal goals are different. Some people, it's all about just getting the money. They've already worked really hard. Now they need a big money contract to support their family. Some people have already gotten their big money contracts. Now they want to go out and have a little bit of fun, spread their wings, have some freedom. It just depends what that specific talent wants to do. So we don't really know with Sasha if her number one motivation and motivation only is money, or if her motivation is to be a megastar. And I think in WWE, she's got a much better chance of being noticed and get exposure in the WWE under the WWE umbrella than she would under the New Japan or AEW umbrella. But going to AEW would be phenomenal if she showed up there. I would love getting a Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm program. I think that would be money, 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 money. But we'll have to wait and see. I kind of, at this point, hope Sasha Banks goes back to WWE. I think it would be fun. Bayley's going to need a friend real soon. And, Charlotte obviously is on the shelf for 9 months, unfortunately, but Becky is still there. And if Sasha's back in the company in the next year or so, you can start talking about getting that 4 horsewomen match done, which for a while there was feeling like we were never going to get it. We never really got the big Shield triple threat at WrestleMania. There's still a chance. There's still a chance for the 4 horsewomen match. We can still get that, but it all depends on Sasha and what she wants to do with her life. So we'll keep our eye on Sasha, aka Mercedes, and see where she winds up wrestling in 2024. She's a big question mark. Also, a ton of wrestling free agents have hit the market. All those people that WWE released a couple of months ago are now officially free and clear, I believe, as of December 21st. So guys like Dolph Ziggler and Top Dollar, who already made an appearance the other night at an indie show, and probably the biggest and best name is Mustafa Ali, who jumped right on this. This guy's got his finger on the pulse. He really utilizes social media, I think, to his benefit way better than a lot of wrestlers do. He's one of the best at it. And he released, a big kind of vignette on social media that's kind of an extension of the last thing he did when he was in WWE. And a lot of this campaigning. And he was announcing a Mustafa Ali World Tour. And he teased matches with a lot of guys like Will Ospreay and others, and talked about how he's free and he's no longer affiliated with his party. And it was really well done. It was really well produced, well shot. It looked like something WWE would produce. So he's been able to get good quality material and content produced for him for his next journey into the independents and his worldwide tour. Now, there's a bunch of matches. If you check Mustafa Ali's Twitter page, he's retweeting all of the promotions who have signed him up for matches. And he's got a ton of them announced. And I think the biggest one and the sexiest looking match so far of all the matches he's been announced for is the one for Prestige Wrestling here in LA on February 25th versus Speedball Mike Bailey. That is going to be stupidly good. That's 2 months away. Maybe hop in a car and drive up there and go see that one, because I've yet to be to a Prestige show, and I feel like I should go. And Ali versus Mike Bailey might be too good to pass up. We'll see. We'll see if I can swing that one. But that's pretty awesome. Very happy for him after all this time of WWE jerking him around, denying his release, only to not do anything with him. He got it worse than anybody. I think he was one of the worst ones. He's right up there with the Luke Harpers and everybody else who WWE literally jerked off. And it's just frustrating. I'm so glad that he's out from underneath that bullshit. And the fact that he was such a massively embarrassing fumble for WWE makes me think that he's got something to prove. He's probably gonna have a lot of that Swerve Strickland kind of mentality to him. He's just like, all right, motherfuckers, I'm gonna show you. So I wish him nothing but the best. I think Ali is great. I'm really excited to see his world tour and all these different matches he's going to do. I hope he stays safe. I still hope he stays healthy, and I hope he's able to make all of these dates and really, build himself up and hopefully land him another contract somewhere where he'll actually be utilized properly. And if he's able to go to AEW, hopefully, much like a lot of the other talent there, like Strickland, he's able to still stay out there and take independent bookings. Feels like that's what he would like to do. And him coming into AEW would be phenomenal. I hope that he does, and I wish him well. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about NXT real quick. So they ran this angle on Tuesday on NXT. It was a match between Ilya Dragunov and Ridge Holland. And they're kicking the shit out of each other. And I guess Ridge has got Dragunov up in kind of like a bear hug, and then he kind of like hooks him in DDT brainbuster kind of position, and then just boom, and then just drives him right down to the mat. And a really well executed looking move. But Dragunov came up with his arm kind of stiff like that, and then the officials, kind of pounced on him, and it was basically an injury angle. Now, this was taped a few days ago, so the people in the arena, or taped last week, the people in the arena weren't quite sure if it was a work or not. But without even seeing, I remember reading when people were at the taping, I was looking at social media, oh my God, they're doing a thing with Ilya Dragunov. And when I read that it was Ridge, that did it, I'm like, okay, that screams work to me. The fact that it was Ridge, because he had, he was the one who was responsible, or not responsible, but he was in the ring with Big E when Big E injured himself. So it felt right off the bat that they were turning this into an angle about Ridge maybe being an unsafe worker or whatever. Now, regardless of what you feel about the angle, being done, I'm just glad that it's an angle. A lot of fans were mad that it was an angle. Oh, this is really in bad taste. Well, what would you have preferred? For him to really be paralyzed? Is that what you would prefer? You'd rather do your, I hate using this word because the people who use it, I hate, but the virtue signaling, the pearl clutching, all of that over this. It's better than him not really being, it was almost as if they were mad when they learned it wasn't a work. But when you watch it on TV, It's clearly a work. The camera is focused in on Ridge. They're showing everything. They're showing him being loaded onto the stretcher. They even put his championship belt on him. I'm like, come on. Come on, wrestling fans. We all have eyes. We all know what a fucking work is. We can tell. So luckily, it wasn't a legit injury, and they're turning this into an angle. Now, Shawn Michaels is in charge of NXT, so this is Shawn Michaels' idea. This is outrageous. Just chill out, you fucking snowflakes. For fuck's sake, this is not that crazy. I understand totally if someone feels like this is in bad taste. Sure. Especially after what happened to Big E. And it feels like they're drawing attention to that. They're drawing attention to Ridge, who in real life probably does, and we know feels like shit about what happened to Big E. He is already dealing with a lot of guilt. I think all of his peers and fellow wrestlers and Big E himself do not hold him accountable for what happened. So why Johnny Fuckboy Bunch of Numbers on Twitter thinks Ridge is the worst wrestler that's ever lived, I have no idea. Accidents happen in wrestling. Is drawing attention to that in good taste or bad? I guess it just depends on what era we're in. Right now, it feels like it would probably be in bad taste. But there's been plenty of other things done in the past where it's been plays on serious injuries. We've seen plenty of guys being stretchered off. You know, Linda McMahon got tombstoned on the fucking ramp by Kane and shit. So there's been plenty of times where they've made something seem like it was real. The man in charge of NXT might have been part of one of the most famous angles about this very subject when he had the post-concussion shit back in 1995, the day after Survivor Series, when he returned after a month off from being beaten up in Syracuse by the 9 cheerleaders. He returns at Survivor Series successfully, then wrestles Owen on Raw the next night, and he collapses. And he went down, collapsed. They got him on a stretcher. Vince McMahon didn't say anything. They really played it off like it was real. And, you know, they've done not abortion, but miscarriage angles in WWE before. There's plenty of things that are done in bad taste. I don't watch NXT enough to really care about this, so I'm not like really outright defending it, because anybody that does think that it's in bad taste, I guess I get that argument. It just feels like people were being way too, I guess, opinionated about this, taking it way too seriously. It's a wrestling angle. They don't just do things willy-nilly. I feel like there is a reason for this, perhaps, and I know it's a long shot. I know it's a really, really long shot. But if something like this is the beginning of a little theme that they're going to do with Ridge, and it winds up leading to the return of Big E. Now, again, we don't know. It sounds like Big E, there's a chance he may never wrestle again, but there's also a lot we don't know. And we haven't had an update in a while, and you never know what could change behind the scenes medically with Big E. And if it turns out that he's been cleared by doctors to return to the ring, maybe this could be part of it. They do something on TV the next couple of weeks where Ridge injures a couple of guys. Maybe he's in the Royal Rumble, and he finds him in there. He finds himself in there alone, all by himself somehow. I don't know. He throws somebody. There's a big brawl. A bunch of guys fall over or spill over or whatever. He's in there all alone, and then Big E's music hits, and the crowd goes nuts. Big E comes in, chucks his ass right over the top rope. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. So I don't know. I mean, I said that's a long shot. I don't know how it benefits them to do an angle out of what happened with Ridge, because fans are already stupid enough. And when they're like, oh, he's unsafe and blah, 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 he's not fucking unsafe. He wouldn't be out there if he was completely unsafe. It was an accident. Accidents happen. There's been lots of other wrestlers who have had reputations of being unsafe, like for real, you know, and this guy is not, if anything, was the victim of just a terrible, fucked up accident that could literally happen to anybody. Damian Priest could have been the one that did it, Finn Balor, anybody. So when fans who have no experience in athletics or wrestling or doing anything at all are making judgments like that about things that they don't know anything about because of one botched suplex, you know, there's lots of botches. All that was about was how Big E landed. You know, landed on his head, fucked up his neck. That's just the way it is. It's an accident. It happens. If Ridge Look at the talent and the roster that WWE has, the stars that they have, the world-class training facility. You know, Jade Cargill hasn't debuted yet because they don't feel like she's ready. If this guy was a stumbling, bumbling, incompetent mess in the ring, what in the fuck makes you think he would be on TV every week on the main roster or in NXT? Just think about it a little bit, all right? So if you didn't like the angle, no problem. I got no issue with that. If you're screaming and drooling and salivating over the thing, going cross-eyed with anger over it, then you need to sit the fuck down and chill out. It's not that big a deal. See where it goes. I don't like to see somebody acting like they're paralyzed either, you know, but this is pro wrestling. It's not the first time we've watched somebody being carried off in a stretcher. It happens all the time. So it's not that big of a deal, you know. I mean, I know it was many years later. I guess it would have been 2002. So that would have only been 7 years later. But in 2002, Triple H attacked Shawn Michaels in the parking garage, beat him up, threw his face through a windshield. He was beat up in a parking lot by the Marines in Syracuse not 7 years before that. Isn't that them kind of making light of that? Or, you know, you could look at it a lot of different ways. I don't really find things like that offensive. WWE has been known to cross the line for sure. They've done it often and they've disgusted us a bunch of times throughout history. This is one that I'm just not losing my mind on. I'm willing to see where it goes. And like I said, that long shot, if this somehow was planting seeds and leaving a breadcrumb trail to the return of Big E, then I got no issue with it at all. So I'm going to reserve judgment a little bit longer, see how they follow up with it, and see if any of the backlash in NXT makes them change this at all. We will see. All you can do is see. No reason to start pulling your fucking hair out yet or losing your mind. Let's just see what they do with it. Bad taste? Maybe, but WWE is way past the era of them being overly offensive on a daily basis. We're way past that. So now if they hit us with an angle that's a little bit in bad taste, whatever. Speaking of bad taste, oh my God. CJ Perry. We love CJ Perry. We saw from her pretty severe social media post a few days ago regarding a nasty infection that she had in her finger. And apparently she got a splinter in her finger that was getting infected. And she tweeted a picture of it. And it was just kind of a little black and ugly looking. And then she was in the hospital. And then about a day or so later, she tweeted again that she has been in the ER hospital for 50 hours and she's about to go into surgery. And showed a picture of her finger then, and it just really swelled up. It was really discolored. It was really, really disgusting. And I guess they were going to have to operate on her to kind of clean out that infection. Well, CJ Perry came out of surgery, and apparently the surgery was a success. And that CJ Perry, she's so generous to us by giving us these updates. She was so kind and so gracious to show us a picture of her mangled post-surgery finger. Holy shit. Don't go look at it. She basically just showed the whole finger. It's unbandaged just with the cuts and the chunks taken out of it and the weird colors in there. And her finger was just sliced right down to the bone, a big chunk taken out of one of it, out of the top. It looks like when it's fully healed, she's not going to have a complete finger anymore, which sucks. But I think they got the infection, they cleared it out, and that pic was one of the most graphic things I have ever seen in my fucking life. It's still traumatizing me. But I am very happy that hopefully this infection has been cleared out and CJ's not going to have any other problems from this. I had something very similar in 2015. I had a splinter in the same finger in the same place that she did. And I remember it was bugging me, and it was kind of getting swollen, and then it kind of started turning green. And I had to fly to Michigan for my uncle's funeral, who had passed away. So we go to the funeral and we come back to the after party, or the celebration of life get together at my aunt's house. And all my cousins are there, and one of my cousins is a surgeon. And I told her, I was like, my finger is bothering me. She goes, let me look at that. She looks at it. She goes, oh yeah, you need to get that out. That's going to get infected. And she goes, I'll be right back. She goes and she gets a safety pin and a bottle of bourbon, or a little shot glass of bourbon. She pours the bourbon in there, and then she just dips the needle in the bourbon, and she just tells me to turn my head, and she just goes to work on my finger and operates with a needle and pulls it out and fixes me up right there. And had she not been there to do that, who knows? I might be sharing on my Twitter a picture of my mangled finger. So we wish CJ Perry the best. Hopefully the healing process there is something that is swift for her. Hopefully, she didn't lose any mobility, ligament stuff. I don't know anything about that in terms of what they cut out of her finger, but it feels like when she's all healed up, she's going to have some dents and divots in her finger from this, and it looked pretty scary. So happy that she is on the mend. Hopefully she makes a full recovery from this and can return to TV sooner rather than later. Just wishing her all the best. That was pretty freaky when she showed that the other day on social media. Let's talk about this. Actually, before we get into the next thing, let me cruise over here because I think some super chats have been flying in. So I will knock these out before we get into our next news tidbit, and that is regarding WWE's MSG house show the day after Christmas, which is looking like a pretty awesome card. Let me say hello to Chris Miner. Happy Festivus to you, my friend, 15-month family member. Spaz Phoenix is here with a generous $20 drop. For anyone interested, I did a positive end of year pod as a birthday gift to myself. Dropped yesterday. Great news about Charlotte, Becky, Liv, and WWE helping Wyatt's family. Got a pretty popular Mania booking pod up there as well. So yeah, go check out Spaz's channel. I did hear about Mike Rotundo's appearance. He was on, I forgot what podcast he was on. He was a guest on a podcast, and he did say that WWE has been taking care of Bray Wyatt's family, much like AEW is taking care of Brody Lee's, and I think that's really awesome. So go check out Spaz. I also want to welcome J&M Bespoke Travel. Welcome to the family, my friend. I'm so glad you are here. Also want to say hi to Leo Whalen, who's chiming in with a hello. Ronnie in the house as well. Good to see you. Glad you're back. We got the Juliet gifting Brian Spencer a membership. She is the best. We have Sean Swaby, Chris Maycock, all y'all new ones coming in here. Thank you for being here. Ryan Adams. You read Fightful's big report on 2 big departures. I read there was an AEW departure that I was aware of. And we'll check this now just to see if any other news is up about this. I was only aware of this one. Here's a update from Fightful Select 3 hours ago. AEW Vice President expected to leave the company. Word has made its way around the industry that longtime AEW employee Raphael Morphy will be finishing up with the company at the end of the year. Morphy has served as vice president of live events and touring. Morphy has teased new opportunities as of late and is expected to be pursuing other interests in 2024. Fightful Select and Raj Giri have also just learned that as of now, Chief Marketing and Merchandising Officer Dana Massey is set to finish up with AEW as well. She's been there since the start and is married to Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so there's some internal stuff, departures going on in AEW, but that's internal. So if these people need to be replaced, I'm sure that process is ongoing. So right on. Interesting about that. Let's talk about this Madison Square Garden house show coming up on the 26th, this coming Tuesday. This thing is nuts, man. They have sold over 15,000 tickets, probably going to be close to 16,000 when this thing is finally set. They moved 5,000 additional tickets after the announcement that CM Punk would be returning to the ring on this show to face Dominic Mysterio. Now, this is going to be Punk's first match back in the WWE ring in almost 10 years. That's mind-blowing. He's going to be doing it on a house show. I had previously, I think on Monday, mistaken this show for taking place at the Forum. I think on December 30th or something, there's a show at the Kia Forum. This is MSG day after Christmas. I think WWE has ran MSG shows day after Christmas a few times before, have they not? Feels like they have. Seems like this is kind of a semi-tradition. And it's a house show. It's a house show that's drawing 15,000 pay-per-view attendance numbers here for a house show. Now, CM Punk returning to the ring to face Dominic Mysterio is pretty awesome. Dominic even trolled him on Twitter when Punk said he was going to punch Dominic, and Dominic said, "Hey, can you punch me like this?" And tweeted a GIF or a GIF. Is it GIF or GIF? Tweeted a GIF of Punk botching the buckshot lariat in AEW, which was just awesome for Dom. Love that. We're also going to get Seth Rollins defending his championship against Drew McIntyre in a grudge match, even though you know full well there's not going to be a title change there. And we're going to see Cody Rhodes versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a Texas Bull Rope match, baby. The same match that Dusty Rhodes faced Superstar Billy Graham back in like 1978. Fucking awesome. I love that. Cody and Nakamura, Texas Bull Rope match in the fucking Garden. Oh, how I love that. I wish I could be at that show. House shows are usually a joke, but that one doesn't sound like it's going to be. That should be all kinds of fun, and hopefully there will be lots of video from this live event for us to talk about next week. That sounds like it's going to be a really, really fun show. Also, we want to congratulate MJF, our AEW World's Heavyweight Champion, for being inducted into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame this week. Big ceremony in Comac, New York, which I think is on Long Island. I want to invite you guys to go check out our friend, the Solid Monsters YouTube channel. He has an interview. He attended that ceremony. I believe it was maybe Tuesday, maybe Monday. I forgot what day it took place on, but he has an interview with MJF from that ceremony on his YouTube channel right now. He talks to him about the conversation he had with John Cena on the red carpet, talks about, the AEW being a target of hate, that type of thing. Lots of cool discussion there. About an 8-minute interview over on Jason's YouTube page right now. So go check that out. And congratulations to MJF on what probably is a pretty special honor for him. So I think that's really cool. And it looked like a really fun ceremony this week in New York. Also, we should talk a little bit about this year's Hall of Fame class coming up. With the year winding down now, heading into the Royal Rumble, usually right around this time of year is when we kind of get an idea of who WWE might be inducting into the Hall of Fame. And usually around the Rumble, they will announce the first inductee. We don't know this year how long it's going to take them. I've kind of been an asshole about the Hall of Fame lately because I absolutely hate what they've done to it and still do. The fact that they tie it into SmackDown and they do it at a TV taping now instead of having an actual show for it where wrestlers get dressed up and long speeches. I just miss the way it used to be. It's just a shell of itself now. The Hall of Fame now is exactly the way Dalton Castle's been portraying himself lately in Ring of Honor, just a shell of what he used to be. But that doesn't mean that names still don't deserve to go in. And this is going to be Triple H's first Hall of Fame because the Hall of Fame does fall under the creative duties of Triple H. So it's going to be his call on these, at least supposedly. I'm sure, Vince might still want to cock block him on something, but I think for the most part, this is going to be Triple H's decision who goes in. And at this point, he should not have to worry about any pushback from Vince for anyone. What is Vince going to push back on? I don't want him going in. Why? Did he fuck every single employee that he came into contact with and have to pay a bunch of money in hush money and fined and get ousted from his company too? No? Okay, then shut the fuck up. I'll put whoever I want in, asshole. Shave that mustache, you freak. So hopefully Vince won't stick his stupid face into this business at all and Triple H can be allowed to put in who he's going to put in. Now, I think the headliner for this year's Hall of Fame needs to be Bray Wyatt. No other choice in my mind other than Bray Wyatt to be the headliner. It's the 2006 Eddie Guerrero thing. It's the same thing. Eddie went in 2006, although Eddie, I don't think was the headliner. I think Brett was. So maybe Bray isn't the headliner if you've got a bigger one planned, but I think a lot of the talent is going to kind of insist that he is the headliner, Bray Wyatt. Another big name, since it is Philly, is Paul Heyman. But I don't know if you really tie in a Paul Heyman Hall of Fame induction when he's still representing the tribal chief. He's still going to be representing the champion in the main event of WrestleMania. Do they want to wait until he's not so strongly involved in storyline to do this? Maybe. But man, the fact that it's WrestleMania 40 and the fact that it's in Philly, that's like a 1-2 punch. I mean, Paul Heyman has got so much history with the WWE that dates back longer than 40 years. I've always referenced that badass picture of him backstage with Blassie and the Grand Wizard and like Albano when he's 19 years old, and how long he's been in the mix, meeting Vince McMahon Sr. at such a young age and being brought in to do pictures, and then how his career kind of grew from there. And then he turned into be one of the greatest, promoters and wrestling managers of all time. And he's had so much history, especially in the Northeast and the WWE and the Samoans and the McMahons. Heyman would be a perfect person to go in. But with everything going on at WrestleMania 40, Roman likely dropping the title, I don't know. But I feel like Heyman absolutely needs to go in. Now, in terms of names of the past, I really have got the same names on my list that I've had for the past few years. Number one, Rick Martel. Rick Martel, I've always been a massive fan of his, and I don't understand why he hasn't gone in yet, especially unless he doesn't want to go in or something. But Rick Martel, right at the top of my list, along with Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow is another one that I think absolutely should go in. Psycho Sid Vicious, absolutely. When he was WWE champion in 1996, in 1997, I thought that belt looked better around him than it looked around a lot of champions' waist. So I would vote for Sid. There's some other ones that are maybe a little fishy. One of them is Lex Luger. Lex Luger, I think, could go in. They even released a Lex Luger video on YouTube recently. They did the A&E biography. Luger has been working with the company a little bit here and there. Feels like this could be a setup for a Lex Luger Hall of Fame induction. My problem with a Lex Luger Hall of Fame induction is that I also think Miss Elizabeth should go into the Hall of Fame. And with Luger's, I guess, involvement in Miss Elizabeth's death, I think it might be in poor taste to put him in the same year. So you'd spread them out. So maybe Luger this year, Elizabeth next year, something like that. But the fact that Miss Elizabeth, the first lady of wrestling, is not in the WWE Hall of Fame is criminal and an absolute travesty, and she needs to be in. But then again, so does Lex Luger, but that is a touchy situation. And I personally, if I'm Triple H, I do not put them in the same year. I just don't. I don't want Elizabeth's family having to be reminded of that. And I don't want Luger to have to be reminded of that either, because I know he lives with a lot of guilt with that. And he, even though Elizabeth was a grown woman who made her own choices, he did not help her in that at all. His relationship with her was terrible. Speaking of touchy subjects, China is another one. Now, China finally did officially go in as a member of D-Generation X, but a lot of people want to see her get a solo induction. Now that Triple H is solely in charge of this, this is his chance. This is his chance to make good on that ridiculous comment and explanation that he gave all those years ago on that WWE Network version of the Stone Cold podcast, where Stone Cold asked him about Hall of Fame and China, and he mentioned her adult film career and how that's why, she can't go in. He doesn't want his daughters looking her up and then seeing all of that. And, meanwhile, you got murderers, in the Hall of Fame, like Snuka. You got Sonny in there. And it was such a stupid explanation. I'm like, that's not why, you fucking idiot. So Triple H, after Chyna's death, has tried his best, I think, to honor her as best as possible, because it got pretty ugly with them at the end as well. And Chyna had some erratic behavior, at the end of her life, even a confrontation, I think, with Triple H, at one point. But at the same time, you can't deny what Chyna did and the influence that she left on wrestling. So she deserves 100%. It's not a matter of being it deserved. That just get that out of your head. It's not a matter of deserving it. That's not what we're talking about. It's a matter of, will WWE do it? Because a lot of people deserve it, but won't get in. So it's not about deserving. I think that Triple H has a really good likelihood of putting Chyna in by herself. I do. I feel like we talked about with the Luger guilt too. There's probably a fair amount of guilt in Triple H's mind too. Back then when he was young and, he dumped one girl for another, and, the girl that he left wound up kind of downward spiraling her life. And he probably has a few regrets, and maybe this is something that, can almost help him cope or feel better. Like, at least I can do what I can to make sure that she's honored the right way. That's what Joni would want. And hopefully that's what her family would want. So I feel like China could go in as well. But those are my big names: Martel, Bam Bam, Elizabeth, Luger, China, Sid. Also, Brian Pillman is another one. You can throw out the Owens and the Benoits, where we can't really talk about those. But Brian Pillman is an interesting one because now that Junior is in the company, he could be there for a Hall of Fame induction. And I said that when he was in AEW. I said, I don't think WWE will ever induct Brian Pillman unless Junior comes to the company. Now that he is, and he's there as Lexus King, a couple of reasons why Pillman doesn't make sense this year. Number one, the character that his son is playing doesn't like him. So for Pillman Jr. to induct his father would be weird when he's been on TV saying that he wants to be everything that his father wasn't, and he's taking the name of the man who raised him and shit like that. So that would be weird. Plus, he's still proven himself. And Brian Pillman Jr. has critics. And I think WWE needs to know that he is a limited star. He is not what his dad was, not even close. So they want to give him a fair shot, but maybe it's better to wait another year before you talk about Pillman again, just to see if it works out with Junior or not. Because if a year goes by and Lexus King is kicking ass in NXT, and maybe he's even moved away a little bit from, the negative things he's been saying about his dad, maybe next year he'd be in a better position in terms of his character and where he is in a spot on the roster and the card and the company to induct his dad. Maybe 1 year would be better to wait, and also to wait and see, if it even works out with him, because he's still in proving himself mode. So if they have him induct his dad and then 3 months later they feel like he ain't cutting the mustard and they have to release him, I don't know, maybe it'll just be weird. So I feel like Pillman, again, it's not about deserving. Of course, Pillman deserves it. We're not stupid. We know that. But WWE might want to wait a year on Brian Pillman. That's my thought on that. But, that's a good point. I don't know why I didn't think about that, Colin Wright. Unless Stone Cold inducts Brian Pillman, that probably makes more sense, to be honest. But I still think that Junior would have to have some sort of, it would just be weird, like WWE, Pillman's not alive to choose his inductor. So would WWE just immediately go to the next of kin and say, who do you want to do it? And then he might say, I want to do it. I want to induct my dad. I don't even know how you work that out. How do you tell Brian Pillman Jr., you're not inducting your own father? We've got our own guy for that. That feels like it's got to be a conversation with Junior and Austin, that type of thing, to where maybe Pillman Jr. is like, no, absolutely. I want you to induct my dad. Now, if that was the case, then Pillman would have a much more memorable Hall of Fame induction. And at the end of the day, that's what should be most important, is how memorable they make it. And hell, maybe Austin could induct him and Pillman Jr. could be up there with him. That could also work. But a good point on the Steve Austin thing. Didn't even think about that. But it's going to be interesting to see, what names go in now that Triple H is in charge of the Hall of Fame. I was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, shit. It's probably going to be all Triple H's call. We should talk about this on an upcoming podcast. And I don't know if there's anybody else you guys would recommend. I see Big Show. I see Hardy Boys. Nobody's going to get inducted who's currently under contract to AEW. That's just not going to happen. So you can get those names out of there. Again, it's not about deserve. It's not about deserve. We all know anybody that we talk about deserves it. It's just a matter of if the timing is right, if WWE is going to put them in, why have they not already put them in, and that type of thing. That's really all we're talking about here. But Ken Shamrock, there's another good one. Jim Cornette, I think, is a Hall of Fame worthy manager, but he's not going to go into the WWE. And good point by Colin right there. Thank you for the super chat. Cyndi Lauper. I kind of thought Cindy was in, but I don't think she is. I don't know how they have not put her in the celebrity wing. I would have sworn she's a Mandela effect thing with me. I thought we got her in. I swear I can even picture her at the podium for some reason, but I guess not. We haven't done it. But Cyndi Lauper, absolutely. She should have been the first one in that celebrity wing. Right from the start, she really helped get all that going. Even before WrestleMania, even before the first WrestleMania, she was out there. All that shit with Piper and setting up the war to settle the score. And she was a part of that boom. Without her being a part of that, WWE still would have found success. But, that whole introductory rock and wrestling thing there was really that the catalyst that, kind of pushed the snowball down the hill. And I think that she deserves recognition for that. Absolutely. I want to thank J&M Bespoke Travel, who just joined the family as a new channel member and hitting us with his first super chat on a live stream. Thank you so much for that 10. Just want to say thank you for the channel. You're the reason I've decided to start my own wrestling podcast starting next week. Any advice is welcome. Man, I will do my best for you there. I got another super chat to answer as well. Let me get this one from the new one. Thank you so much for the $9.99, my friend. What's up, brother? This is Vontae, the new one. What's up, Vontae Page? How have you been, man? Been a minute since I've talked to you on here. What are your thoughts on Jericho's comments about the Hall of Fame? And I'll be at Mania 40 next year. Can't wait. I didn't hear Jericho's comments on the Hall of Fame, so I don't know what that's referencing. Is he talking about his own Hall of Fame induction? Because I feel like Jericho will go into the Hall of Fame. He might be one guy. I just said a second ago how nobody under contract to AEW is going to go into the Hall of Fame. He might be one guy that does. He did the Stone Cold shit, right? The Broken Skull sessions. If he ends his in-ring career and he takes like a front office job with AEW, I don't know. They might let him go get inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't know. As long as he's out of the ring by that point, I don't really see that big of a problem with it. Hopefully, Tony Khan would let him do it. But no, I did not see Vontae and hear what his comments were. But I think that's awesome. You're going to Mania in Philly next year. That's going to be fun. Thanks again for being here, man. Good. Oh yeah, now I see your face there in the corner. That's definitely you, Vontae. But J&M, I want to circle back to you. Any advice on the podcast? It's tough now to really give advice because with the way YouTube is and how just overly saturated the market is, I've seen people who have really good quality looking stuff that just get no views. And it's not because they aren't interesting, don't have good things to say, don't have valuable opinions, and don't produce good content. It's a saturated market. So my biggest thing is just to make yourself stand out is have good quality looking content. Don't have your shit looking like it's broadcast from a Sega CD. You need more than your phone to do this. Get a mic, get a good camera, make sure that when people are looking to you or listening to you, they are looking at you or listening to you in the highest quality possible. So get a good microphone. If it's just going to be a podcast and you're not going to be on camera like me, then all you need is a good mic. If you're going to be on camera like me, just make sure that it's pleasing to the eye and it doesn't look low rent, low budget, and it doesn't make it look like you're broadcasting from Osama bin Laden's compound on a 360p camera. That's really all I can say at this point. And then if you're a smart wrestling fan, your opinions will come out. But I think at this point, when you're looking for new podcasts, new content, wrestling content creators to find, if I'm on the search for that and I'm searching around YouTube, I'm only going to be looking at people that look like they're having their shit together, to be honest. So that would be probably my best advice, but I don't really know you, so I'm not sure, what your vibe is like or whatever. All I can do is wish everybody luck, and wish you the best. And I'll be happy to plug your channel, do anything I can to help you out once you get up and running there. So, and on top of that, once you do it, it's a matter of sticking with it. You're going to have to, concede that you're probably not going to get many views at first. But if you start growing an audience at all, no matter how small or big, if your audience is upticking, all it comes down to at that point is consistency. Just being there, providing consistent content and just sticking with it, and as long as your audience is growing, just keep doing that. That's just all I can really say. Be consistent and take it seriously if you want to be serious. That's really all I can say. And it took me a lot of years to figure it out. At first, I wasn't really serious. I was just kind of doing it willy-nilly as a hobby. I would go 3 months at a time without uploading a video sometimes in my first 2 years there. But once I noticed I started growing, it took about 5 years for me to really take it seriously. It was around 2015. That's when I started the website and decided to push my YouTube stuff out into podcast form and kind of evolve my channel a little bit into lots of different types of videos to where we are today. That's a process. It's not, you just don't decide to do it the next day. You'll do the same thing. You'll evolve, you'll change, you'll get different ideas. This is working, this not, this isn't. Let's switch this, let's move this, and that type of thing. It's just a matter of trying to keep yourself as interesting as possible here on the channel. We've been very blessed to have a great family of listeners. Really appreciate you guys. We're not the biggest, but we're also not just a startup channel either. And there's a lot to be proud of here. So good luck to you. Wish you the best. And anybody else that decides to start a podcast or gets inspired by somebody else to start a wrestling content YouTube channel or anything like that, just stick with it and make sure your shit looks good. That's all I can say. It's my number one piece of advice. Lillian Garcia, that's another good option for the Hall of Fame. Hardcore Holly, sure. Batista, yeah, we got to get Batista in, don't we? I guess he's just going to go in when he feels like it. I feel like Batista is probably going to be the headliner whenever he goes in. So that should rule him out for this year, unless he's willing to come in and do it and not be the headliner. But WWE owes him one. He was originally scheduled, what, was it 2020? Then the pandemic hit, and then he hasn't been back to do it, right? So we'll see when Batista gets in, but again, he'll make it at some point. Let's backtrack just a little bit. I want to talk about this past week's Monday Night Raw. We did a review, but it was funny. Apparently something happened at the end of the main event that I missed because I was having issues with my DVR, and then the next show started, and then I couldn't rewind and see what the fuck happened. But apparently in the finish of the tag team title match on Monday between Priest and Balor and the Creed brothers, the Creeds went for their Brutus ball and apparently landed, I think it was Julius. No, it's Brutus. Brutus is the one that landed really awkwardly on Damian Priest's head, nearly squashed his face. And he was selling, or not, I guess not selling, he was really suffering the effects of that for a couple of seconds there, trying to shake it off. And then when they went into the finish, I think it was Julius that kicked out, one of them kicked out at 3.1. So Priest pinned him, but then they kind of kicked out quickly after that. You combine that with the finisher botch, Priest looked very pissed off on Monday about that. So we didn't hear any other details from behind the scenes this week about that. But that was a close call apparently on Monday, and it did upset Priest pretty badly. And it might have been a case of maybe he knows. I've been calling Damian Priest successfully cashing in the briefcase. A lot of people feel like he's going to fail at that because there's a lot of contenders right now for the title. And now with Punk back, that might change things. I still think Priest is going to successfully cash in that title. And he might know that because WWE internally might know that. And so if he knows he's just a few weeks or maybe less away from cashing in the briefcase, and he just saw his entire career flash before his eyes, I could understand him being pissed. Motherfucker, I'm about to get the biggest push of my life, and you could have ended it in 1 second with your carelessness. Go talk to your friend Ridge Holland. So I guess that's what he was mad about, but hopefully everything has been smoothed over. I like the Creed brothers a lot. That is an awkward looking finisher, but I saw a lot of fans kind of critiquing it and picking it apart. That's a really, kind of scary finisher there. It's a real dangerous move. I'm like, bitch, have you never seen a Doomsday Device? Jesus Christ, man. The Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors were murdering motherfuckers on their finishers every single week, and they're considered legends. But, everybody's got to be an analyst now. Everybody's got to be an expert, right? They just don't know what the fuck they're saying. And they're just so quick to criticize. I saw douchebag Inferno. It's really an unsafe move. I'm like, bitch, you've taken worse. Stop being a bitch. So maybe the Creeds are a little rough around the edges. I kind of think that's part of their charm, the fact that they are a little bit different, and they do have that, legit, kind of collegiate experience as well that is going to translate really well into the ring, and they're going to get better, and they're probably going to work out a lot of these kinks. And if it turns out that the Brutus ball is a little bit too dangerous of a move to execute, they'll stop using it, or they will modify it or whatever. Not too worried about it. Just happy that Damian Priest was okay. But when you guys were referencing that in the chat on Monday, I didn't really know what you were talking about. So apparently there was some heated words after that match. And in other Raw news this week, I mentioned this in my Raw review that for some reason, Samantha Irving did not announce Chelsea Green in the way that she has been announcing her name, that over-the-top Chelsea Green. And I speculated on Monday that maybe the reason they did that is because it was a title match. All right, look, it's a championship match. We can't have that ridiculous intro for this. We got to take it seriously, please. That's kind of what I thought maybe the reasoning was. Well, it turns out, according to FightFul Select anyway, They were told that the direction for the Samantha Irvin to no longer do the special Chelsea Green entrance came from a WWE higher up. So I am working on getting the name of this higher up and where he or she lives. That way we can send them a nice Christmas card saying, don't ever fucking make a stupid decision like that again. Or maybe just pound on their door and force them to change their mind. We could all meet there together if you guys want. I'll let you know when I get the address. I'll send it to you. And we can all just kind of coordinate there on their front lawn and just make a whole bunch of noise until they decide to change this ruling. But that's kind of a bummer, you know? Like, I know wrestling Twitter is extremely predictable. There's going to be the fans. I can already hear them because they're all the same. Here's what the assholes are going to say. Good. The job should be to put the talent over, not themselves. I think I saw that comment today. Somebody said, yeah, she's trying to get herself over. Oh my God, it's like the terminal brainworms in these people. Giving somebody a unique and special entrance is the very definition of putting that wrestler over. It's not Samantha drawing attention to herself. She's drawing it to Chelsea Green. It's a cool part of her entrance. Tony Chimmel did the whole rated R superstar. The Fink could do the great R role on Alberto Del Rio. He had his own fucking announcer, remember? When Rodrigo would announce him? There's been lots of kind of special entrances or something, or introductions or unique ways to introduce a specific talent that makes them feel special. That's the very definition of putting them over. I guess WWE has their reasons for doing this, and we will see now that Chelsea's not a champion anymore. If maybe they pick this back up. Maybe it really was just a title match thing. And that call for her not to do it came from a WWE higher up. Maybe it was just not to do it for this one specific match. But if that special entrance is gone, that's a shame because she's so good at it. And she also has a very over-the-top entrance for Gunther. I don't know what it is about these fans that are all like this. They say the same thing about Aubrey Edwards. These little fucking experts that don't know dick. She's taking away from the match and she's taking attention away. And I'm like, have you never watched Mark Curtis ref a match, Charles Robinson, countless other referees, announcers, play-by-play guys that have their own unique styles, and people are so quick to be hateful instead of just realizing that it's not that big of a deal. And so I saw some people that were happy about this call from the WWE higher up. Oh, Samantha shouldn't be doing that. Do you have any fun? Do you have any fun in your life? Imagine what a no fun loser you must be to actually not like Samantha Irving's announcement of, I keep calling her Irving, Samantha Irvin's announcement of Chelsea Green. I thought it was so fun. I even one time called Elizabeth in from the other room. I said, listen to how Samantha announces Chelsea Green, and she got a huge kick out of it because she's fun and people are fun. And little bah humbug, killjoy little pricks are not fun. So I think that WWE made a mistake here and they should think about bringing that back because Samantha is one of the more special WWE ring announcers they've had in quite some time. And she does a tremendous job. And I think if she has little differences with certain wrestlers, it makes them feel more important and it sets them apart. And it doesn't, there's been a lot of years in wrestling where I just tune out the announcers. I don't even pay attention to them at all because I'm not really listening to them. And I guess maybe that's what WWE wants. It was like a few years ago how they didn't want the announcers referencing the referees' names anymore. They just want them to be invisible, zebras, basically. And so maybe that's kind of what they're trying to do here or whatever. But I feel like that was fun and they ended something that was fun. And I think people are just no fun. So that's a bummer. We'll see if one day the special Chelsea Green entrance comes back or not. So that's all I really wanted to talk about in terms of Raw. Last night's SmackDown was a taped show, so we knew what happened on this show really already. I read through all the results last week. I watched some of the highlights from last night. We had the big Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight segment in the ring where it did set up what we speculated a week ago, the fact that AJ attacked LA Knight, but he still wants revenge on the bloodline. LA Knight has been telling everybody that Roman belongs to him. Randy Orton's challenging Roman at the Royal Rumble. This has got triple threat written all over it. And sure enough, As Orton, AJ, and Knight are arguing in the ring, Nick Aldis comes out and announces that on SmackDown New Year's Revolution, which will be on January 5th, it'll be a triple threat match. Orton, AJ, and LA Knight. The winner will face Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. So this week's Raw will be a highlight show, and I guess next week's SmackDown will be as well. They'll probably both be clip shows, and then they'll both pick up live shows back January 1st on Monday for day one, and then New Year's Revolution on SmackDown on January 5th, and that's where we're getting that triple threat. So it'll probably wind up being Randy Orton against Roman Reigns. That's what it feels like, but shit, they might do a fatal four-way. I don't know. LA Knight and AJ could be in the Rumble, or they could be a part of the championship match. I don't even know if has Roman even defended the title in a multi-man match since being champion? I'm not even sure if he has. You guys know better than me on that. So maybe that's what we get. Otherwise, I'm fine with Orton and Reigns one-on-one. I think that will be badass. The main event saw AJ Styles defeating Solo Sikoa via DQ when Roman Reigns attacked him. Jimmy Uso and Randy Orton and LA Knight all ran in, and the faces kind of all fought with each other at the end, kind of teasing their big triple threat in a couple of weeks. We also had the U.S. title tournament continue. Kevin Owens defeated Carmelo Hayes. Really good match there. Carmelo won his debut match last week, so good showing for Carmelo in this. Good to get a taste of him on the main roster. Hope we get more, and a little handshake and show of respect after that. Santos Escobar got an upset win over Bobby Lashley, pinning him with a handful of tights after Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo returned and attacked the Street Profits on the outside of the ring, which distracted Lashley, leading to the finish. So they've been in NXT for a while now, and they are finally back on the main roster, and they are now joining Santos, replacing, his previous stable. So we got a little faction kind of born there, a little trio of guys, and I guess that's going to be pretty obvious that we'll get a Santos, Garza, and Carrillo versus Lashley and Street Profits match, right? Coming up in the future. So Santos and Owens both advance. I believe they're going to be the finalists, yes? So it'll be Owens and Escobar to win the number one contenders tournament, and we're all expecting it to be Kevin Owens and Logan Paul for the title. So that's probably what's going to happen there. And I guess the finals of that will probably also be at that New Year's Revolution show. Dragon Lee defeated Butch in a North American title match that was totally badass. And in some really, really fun news, they ran a Karrion Kross vignette last night that seemed to heavily tease the return of the Authors of Pain. And it looks like they've got Paul Ellering with him. They have been signed for months with the company. I think Sean Ross Sapp first mentioned AOP coming back like January of this year. We're 7 days until the end of the year. That's how long they've been talking about the AOP. They've been under contract with WWE, I think, since May or sometime spring or summer, a long time. And we've heard their name mentioned a few times. Their return is imminent. Creative plans are in place and everything, but yet no Authors of Pain, no Authors of Pain. Well, finally, it looks like we have found what WWE is going to be doing with them. They will not be going back to NXT. They will be hitting the main roster, and they are going to pair them up with Karrion Kross. So now we have ourselves a faction with two managers in it. It's going to be great to see Paul Ellering back. I think that's awesome. I don't know how Rachel Ellering is progressing these days. She's an Impact, right? Is she any good? I've seen a couple matches. She's got her shit together, but I don't know if she's setting the world on fire or not. Maybe Paul Ellering being back in the company can help get Rachel in there and in the PC. As soon as Rachel started training, I felt like she would go to WWE. I feel like she's already been in the PC or NXT or the Mae Young Classic or something. So maybe we'll see Rachel whenever her current shit she's doing is done, show up in the WWE in the future. But just seeing the silhouette of Paul Ellering was kind of cool, that he apparently is going to be a part of this. So they're going to give Karrion Kross yet another chance here to make fans give a fuck, because nobody does. And his promos and all of his stuff is pretty well produced, in the sky. I loved him when he first came in. Remember? I was all about him. That NXT debut and when he first came in and that entrance and the presentation and I liked his hair buzzed. I liked him bald way better than whatever's going on there. And the Scarlet stuff, I thought the two of them were just perfect. And then WWE brought him in with the gimp mask and the dominatrix outfit or whatever. And he lost to Jeff Hardy, and he's literally been a joke ever since. Triple H brought him back, tried to make use of him, had a little feud with Drew McIntyre. They've tried. Fans don't care. So hopefully they care this time, because Cross is a badass. Used right, I think there's still ways that you can get money out of Cross. I still think there's intriguing and interesting things for him to do. So let's see if this one works. He's now going to be associated with AOP. I don't know if they're going to be his backup or he's going to be the leader of this group. And, he's going to be the Bobby Lashley. I mean, we got a lot of trios right off the bat here. I mean, we just added 2 brand new trios in one episode of SmackDown with Cross and the AOP and Santos and Garza and Carrillo. So, between that and Lashley and the Street Profits, AJ and the what's their fucks if they ever come back. So we got a lot of potential there for 3-membered factions. But this one has got Scarlett and Paul Ellering involved. And when all of them are together at the same time, that should be a pretty interesting looking visual there. So it'll be interesting to see what, Cross's motivations are and how he's going to use the AOP to get whatever he's going after. So we'll see. But AOP now officially look like they're heading back. And I would assume, since we're 2 weeks away from another live SmackDown, that we will see them at New Year's Revolution. That's my prediction anyway. I don't know. Do you really need to run 5 weeks of these vignettes of teasing the AOP? Just bring them back. What's 5 weeks of vignettes going to do at this point? I think Karrion Kross, Triple H clearly likes him, because I don't know if just anybody would get this amount of chances. So hopefully this one works. And since it took so long for AOP to reappear, that would make one assume that perhaps they really took their time thinking about how to use them, which means they've had some time to plan. And they're not just going to say, okay, let's just try this. So we'll see how it goes. But that was pretty much your SmackDown in a nutshell last night. We're going to wrap up with a little bit of AEW discussion. But before we do, let me cruise here to the chat and knock out a couple of more supers. Also, if you have not hit that thumbs up button, I would appreciate one of those as well. If you could hook me up for Christmas. That's what I want for Christmas, as likes. Hook Greg up. That's all I want. Just give me some likes. Let me knock out a couple of new ones here from, hopefully I haven't missed any, but I know the new one has $4.99 more for us. Thank you so much, dude. Jericho thinks the Hall of Fame is a joke all of a sudden. Oh, okay. He said it on Chris Van Vliet's podcast and Nation for the Hall of Fame. I don't really care that he said that. I mean, honestly, I love the Hall of Fame in terms of the ceremony and the memories that it brings back. Of course, I've hated the way the Hall of Fame is recently, but in terms of the Hall of Fame ceremony, it's always been a lot of fun for me as a fan. What Jericho's talking about, I guess, is the fact that is something that we already know. It's a well-known fact that there's no voting process for this Hall of Fame. It's completely just up to who Vince or Triple H wants to put in. It's always been that way. It's been that way ever since Jericho used to sit his fucking ass front row of those things when he worked for the company, and he smiled and he laughed and he clapped and he cheered and he ate it up and he loved the memories too. So it didn't seem like a joke to him back then. So if he's saying this now, I think he's probably just referencing what we've always known about the Hall of Fame. It's never been debated that the selection process is a complete fucking joke. It's not really about that to me. It's a kayfabe Hall of Fame, but it also is very special because it does create moments, it does create memories, and it does a lot of times put a cherry on top of the legacy of a lot of legends being able to come back for that one final moment and give a speech and have their career remembered and have them technically, at least digitally, remembered in WWE's Hall of Fame. I see no problem with it. If it's a joke, it's just of how the selection process is made, I guess, is what he's talking about. So, who knows what prompted Jericho to say that, but he's not really wrong. It's just he's working against the WWE right now. If Jericho is an employee of WWE, because a lot, if there's some WWE haters out there going, yeah, Jericho's right. I'm like, well, listen to what Jericho is saying. The only reason he's saying this is because he's not working there. If he was, he would be saying something completely different. He'd be talking about how prestigious the Hall of Fame is. And if Jericho ever does go back to work for WWE in any capacity ever again, or have some sort of relationship with them, he might be singing a different tune if asked the same question. Spectre, appreciate the 5. Hey, Greg, Merry Christmas. Is Santa Paws bringing anything for the cat? Are you doing an end-of-the-year video like best match wrestler? No, unfortunately, no end-of-year video. I'm not good at doing end-of-year awards because I just can't remember everything that fucking happened all year. So I should get back into doing that. We used to do big year-end Q&As and stuff back in the day, but I got a busy life. So we're just going to continue our schedule as usual next week and go right into the next thing. So no big special year-end video this year. I'm very sorry about that, Spectra. But Santa Paws bringing anything for Tito. Elizabeth's got him hooked up. He's got his own little stocking down there under the tree. She's the best. She always takes care of our boys, or our boy. And when Bub was here, she took care of him too. MH Nova, thank you for the 5 from you. What's up? Good mic work and chat. In NXT, the ring announcer doesn't say the wrestler's hometown nor weight. I think it's very dull. Your thoughts on that? I don't have a problem with that because I feel like NXT is the training ground. That's just WWE's developmental. You're just getting used to TV production and how to stand and what to do and being on television and how that format is. And they're leaving out a few extra details that they'll get to when they get the main roster. At this point, I don't really mind because you never know what type of character that wrestler is going to have. So maybe they don't want to start billing this wrestler from anywhere until they've decided they're just going to always be. I don't know. I have no idea. It's not really something I give a shit about or I think matters. But yeah, I didn't even know that they were doing that there in NXT. Yo, the Juliet, thank you so much. May you and Elizabeth have a happy Xmas in 2024. And Merry New Year as well to everybody out there. Hart family, you mean the whole family going to I think they did. Didn't the whole Hart family go in, or maybe Stu went in? I don't remember. I know we start doing whole families. I'm not in a huge hurry to get that done. I'm not going to feel like the Hart family's been done wrong because they haven't been put in the Hall of Fame together yet. I'm cool with them holding off on families, but they could. We definitely have Hall of Fame wrestling families out there, that's for sure. Let's talk a little bit about Dynamite this past week because some interesting things happened there. First of all, the Continental Classic has been kicking ass. This thing has been all kinds of fun. And we've got ourselves one hell of a 3-way next week for the finals of the Gold League. So on Dynamite on Wednesday, we had Swerve Strickland defeating Roosh in the opening match. Midway through the card, we had Mark Briscoe defeating Jay Lethal. And in the main event, we had Jay White defeating Jon Moxley. Hit him with the Blade Runner after he countered the Death Rider. And beat him right there, beat Moxley right there in the middle. So this rounds out the Gold League scores with Mox, Swerve, and Jay White all with 12 points. Roosh with 3, Briscoe with 3, and Lethal with 0. So that means we're going to get a triple threat match next week for the Gold League finals. It's going to be Moxley versus Swerve versus Jay White. That's awesome. So this one thing I will say about the Continental Classic is it's been so well booked. So well booked. And even here with this triple threat, I've been worried about Swerve. I was like, a lot of people want him to win this. I kind of don't. I would rather have him go after the AEW world title next year. And they planted the seeds for that on this show. So with the thing about no interference and whatnot, it's, you can't just have Hangman Page come out and cost him. And that's how you get Swerve out of this tournament without having him win it while also keeping him strong and protecting him at the same time. He's had an excellent run in this tournament, and now in the finals of the Gold, it's going to be a triple threat. So now he doesn't have to get pinned. Now Moxley can pin Jay White. That's what I hope happens. I hope Moxley pins Jay White and Moxley goes to the finals and maybe faces Danielson. And Swerve doesn't even have to take a pin. And then in 2024, Swerve becomes world champion. That's what I want to see. And I think they've set themselves up perfectly here. I knew the Continental Classic would be good because I thought Tony Khan would do it right, but I still had my doubts. I wasn't totally sure. I was more of just hoping that it would be a successful tournament and it wasn't just one of these wild ideas that Tony Khan had that he threw out on TV and fails to execute properly. No problem with that here. One of the better book tournaments that I've seen in quite a while. So this has been really, really well done. The matches have been good. They've been intriguing. They've been giving you a reason to want to tune in to see these shows, and Collision has been getting really good reviews. Ratings haven't been great, but they haven't been dog shit either, since CM Punk left. And I think the Continental Classic has really helped that. So when the Classic is over, they got to figure out a way to maintain that because there's some pretty good matches on tap tonight on a show that goes live in 21 minutes. So it's been awesome. It's been fucking awesome. By the way, Collision, those blue matches tonight, it's going to be Claudio versus Danielson. That's awesome. Daniel Garcia versus Brody King, and Andrade versus Eddie Kingston. So we might be looking at a Danielson and Moxley final here is the way I'm thinking it might go, but who the hell knows? So that's what went on Wednesday as it relates to the Continental Classic. But as it relates to Swerve, we'll talk more about that in a minute. Riho also defeated Saraya. This match was for an opportunity to face Toni Storm for the championship at World's End. So Riho is back, and she's been winning. Riho beat Soho last week, and now she put down Saraya. And Riho, one of the OGs, man, she's back now to face Toni Storm at World's End. And that should be pretty interesting. Toni Storm was on commentary for this, of course, hilarious. Whenever they cut to her, it cuts to black and white, which is just too funny. So that's good. We had Chris Jericho. Speaking of Jericho, he gave a very heartfelt update on Kenny Omega. They cut backstage. He's by himself with the mic and basically says that the tag team title match is off and AEW needs to figure out what they're going to do with that title match that was supposed to happen against Starks and Big Bill. So we'll see if Jericho winds up getting a new partner for that, perhaps. I don't know if he can phone up Ospreay or not. Probably not, but who knows? Or if they'll just scrap the match altogether. But he wished Kenny well. The fans were really, really respectful during that. And of course, we all wish Kenny well because diverticulitis is no joke. And apparently, with some of the updates we've been hearing, they did catch it right at the right time, because had Kenny waited to go and get checked out, you could have reached a point where you start treading into fatality as a possibility territory. And that's not good. So just glad he got there when he did. Kenny is one of the best in the world. We wish him the best. And hopefully his recovery so far is going well. And he'll be back. He'll be back. Now, also, we had the MJF stuff and Samoa Joe. So we had the segment in the ring. MJF and Samoa Joe are in the ring talking about their relationship, talking about the World's End match. Things start to get a little bit heated. And that's when a bunch of masked assailants show up. I think the lights go down and like a ton of them come out. So a bunch of them come out and, they get fought off. And then like a second wave of them come through. And then we get some sketchy looking writing on the Videotron where it is basically challenging MJF and Samoa Joe to a match next week for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. And, this devil stuff is, I'm half intrigued and I'm half losing interest, because some of it's getting a little weird. It's starting to trend into hokey land. Whenever I see a whole bunch of little mass dudes running around, I can't stop thinking of Bisquick and Retribution and how ridiculous that whole thing was. And I understand that Adam Cole's injury has forced AEW to rebook this angle. I don't think we would be where we're at right now had Cole not gotten injured. I think he would be on the verge of beating MJF for the title, probably, if he hasn't already done it. And we might already know who the devil, we might have already gotten the payoff for who the devil is by now. We just don't know. So now it's like, I don't know if they're booking this on the fly or if they've changed directions or if they're stalling. I don't know which one it is. Like if they still want to wait until Cole is healthy enough to walk around so he can be a part of this big reveal, and they're just, killing time here, or if they do have another plan, or if they've replaced, whatever they were going to do with Cole with Joe, we don't know yet. But, seeing all these little masked guys around and MJF and Samoa Joe having no idea, they've got no idea, who this is, and they're going to find out. And I'm like, Wardlow has been saying and referencing this devil stuff the whole time. He came out there with Hat Head the other night. Why don't you just go ask him what the fuck's going on? He knows something. So they're still teasing the identity of the devil. We're no closer at this point to having any more clues as to who it's going to be. A lot of fans felt it was going to be Jungle Boy. Internally, word is that's probably not the case. And hopefully AEW knows, because if they don't know, this is definitely going to shit the bed. Definitely going to shit the bed. I saw Bully Ray. He was actually, usually he's so critical. He was actually praising the angle kind of. He's like, the AEW devil angle has a lot of potential. I just hope they do it right. And I'm like, see, I see it the opposite. I feel like it had a lot of potential, but it got fucked up with Adam Cole's injury. Now I'm just hoping they save it to where it doesn't completely suck. I've almost, as much as I, am a fan of AEW, I'm more pessimistic about this one, because we've seen situations similar to this in WWE where they take too long on a payoff, and then when you get it, it was like, so I'm hoping that they're not back there panicking, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Or they actually do have a plan, and the reveal is going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. It might happen at World's End. We might get it that soon. Or they drag this shit into next year and it's a Revolution thing. But otherwise, December 30th might be a good spot for that. We'll see. But backstage after that whole ordeal, MJF and Samoa Joe are kind of giving each other some more shit, and MJF just tells Joe something and just kind of walks away. And as he's walking away from Samoa Joe, he sees a mask on the ground. He picks it up, and it happens to be right in front of the door of the Mogul Embassy. And just that reveal of the embassy on the door got the crowd going, ooh, because this is what we've been waiting for. So he knocks on the door. Out comes Prince Nana. He jacks him up against the wall. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And then Swerve comes out. And we get that face-to-face with MJF and Swerve. And it's the first time they've really been together on screen. And we've been talking for the past couple of weeks about Swerve and the momentum he's been building, and how this guy is making a strong case to be world champion in 2024. And that should be a feud we see next year, Swerve and MJF. And the fact that we got that seed planted here was like a relief, because it's like the Continental Classic thing too. I'm like, as much as I would love for Swerve to win the Continental Classic, I'd almost rather have him be champion instead. And now that they've set us up on Dynamite with not only a triple threat match next week where Swerve can suffer a protected loss, we also have a tease of him and MJF as well. So that's awesome, because that could be feud of the goddamn decade if done right. So we got that little face-to-face there. They reference their history with each other, how they used to wrestle on the independents and share cars together in hotel rooms and whatnot. And Swerve claimed that MJF is ducking him and ignoring him. And he goes, I'm not ducking you. There's just levels to this shit, and you're not on my level. And Swerve then insulted him by talking about the William Regal email and the failed WWE tryout where Swerve, was brought into WWE. And told MJF to be careful how he talked to him, because the last time that crossed him, he hung from by a chain from the top rope, referencing Hangman Page. And then MJF said something like, well, I'll break both of your arms so you can swerve while you drive and whatnot. And that's when the door opens and the rest of the embassy stands there as backup for Swerve. And Joe then shows up to help out his buddy, MJF, and a little standoff there. So that was great, because MJF and Swerve is what I think most fans want at this point. They might be telegraphing World's End a little bit. If they intend on MJF keeping the title, that means he's going to beat Joe, but he could still lose to Joe, and you could still have Swerve and MJF happen, and you could still have Swerve becoming champion. But I almost think Swerve and MJF would be way more fun than Swerve and Samoa Joe. But a big part of me feels like Joe might win that AEW title at World's End too. He might be the devil. MJF might be the devil. By the way, Roddy thinks he is. He beat Commander after the match. Renee interviewed him. And he's still insisting that MJF is the devil. And with all of these, different, clues and hints and evidence, it makes me feel like AEW probably isn't going to reveal the devil's identity at World's End, but they might. I feel like they could still drag it a bit. So that was pretty much what we had on Dynamite. They dipped a bit in the ratings, but I thought it was still a pretty fun show overall. And like I said, Collision tonight looks very good. And World's End, the card so far, they only have MJF and Samoa Joe, Tony Storm versus Riho, and the Blue versus Gold League Continental Classic Finals. So I think only 3 matches because they had to drop the tag. I don't know if Christian is defending his TNT or what's going on. I know Julia Hart now, her and Sky Blue are teaming up. I don't know if they'll stick her on the card in a title match either. Not sure. Let me know if I'm missing anything there for World's End. Yeah, I'm hoping Swerve is going to be it. And there's more evidence to that too, because if you notice on AEW TV, Keith Lee has been calling out Swerve. So it's like they're finally picking this back up finally after what's it been 7 years since they signed with AEW and started their feud, and then they never finished it or whatever. So the fact that Keith Lee is calling out Swerve makes me think that we're going to get that match, and I would love it if we got it at World's End. That would be great because I feel like they need to kind of end that saga, kind of tie up that loose end. And if Swerve is going to be going into a world title program or even winning the title next year, then he needs all the big wins along the way he can get. And he put Hangman down twice. He's probably going to lose in the triple threat next week on Dynamite, which means he could be booked against Keith Lee at World's End one-on-one in a match that he will win. He'll put Keith Lee down clean, and get him right back on track after the triple threat on Wednesday. That's what I would do. So that's just more evidence that they're building him, and I think he's going to do it. He's going to be an excellent representation of AEW's first black heavyweight champion because, that's the type of stuff I'd be thinking about company legacy and stuff. You have to look back to all your firsts, your first ever champion, your longest running champion, first guy to hold it for a year, first minority champion. Same with the women. All the firsts that you've done there and the people that are going to go in your record books. I think when you think about first ever black champions in various promotions, WWE, WCW, Swerve is on an awesome list. He gets to sit there with Ron Simmons, and that's just cool, and I don't think you can find a better guy really than him because I don't think there's anybody that's having anything negative to say about Swerve's work. He's pretty much universally praised. All the wrestlers, all the fans in both companies, I've seen nothing but praise. So we're not imagining this. We're not making this shit up. This guy actually is pretty good. And I feel like that little tease with MJF on Dynamite said a lot. And I think the fans you could just hear. I mean, it was a backstage segment, but you got enough oohs, ahs, and groans out of the live crowd that that shit's going to be money when it hits, when it hits TV. So I'm thinking that can be a really fun program for 2024, whether it's early 2024 or MJF's got a whole bunch of shit to do first before he gets to Swerve. Double or nothing? I mean, that means MJF holds that title for another 5 months, 6 months. That's kind of a long time. I feel like he might have to drop it by then, but double or nothing might be a good spot for Strickland, but that would mean that he's probably going to need another program or something off to the side to do as well. We'll see. We will see. J&M, do I think Okada will beat Danielson at Wrestle Kingdom? Yes, but I don't know how Okada's contract situation factors into that. With Tanahashi taking over as New Japan president, I would think maybe priority number one would be retaining Okada. But if he is leaving, there was the WWE rumors a couple of weeks ago, if they are going to lose him, then I don't know if he beats Danielson, but he should beat him because Danielson beat him at Forbidden Door. And right after that match happened, I think most fans felt like the rematch at Wrestle Kingdom was going to happen and Okada would win that one. So I would say Okada, but I don't know if contract stuff plays a role in a finish to a potential match like that. That's my take there. Oh, that's right. Thank you, the Juliet. Edge has challenged Christian to a no DQ match at World's End. Christian is apparently going to give him an answer tonight on Collision. That's right. I forgot to mention that. I did know that. So he'll probably say no, but somehow get convinced into doing it anyway. I thought we might see Edge gone until the beginning of the year. So the fact that we're going to get Edge and Christian at World's End is also cool. 1 week from today, we're going to be watching that right here together live on the YouTube. So right on. But yeah, I got to get out of here now. I have to go do a little bit of work tonight, and then I am off for the Christmas holiday. I'll be doing a lot of family things in the next couple of days, so just stay tuned over on social media. Follow me over on Twitter at Good Mic Work. I might have some things to say over there, and you'll see little things happening on the channel and the second channel, and if you're a member or a supporter on Patreon, you'll see some shit over there between now and probably Tuesday. So just keep your eyes open. I want to thank you guys again for being here. Thanks for joining me on another Saturday afternoon, and it's been another great year of Winged Eagle podcasts here on the channel. I can't thank you guys enough for your support. We passed 40,000 this year, subscribers, and we have done well with the memberships. We've had fun on the watch-alongs, and the channel keeps plugging away, and that's all because of you guys. So I can't thank you enough. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great holiday. Love to all of you and your families, and I will be catching you real